Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here. We got Mixed Martial Mindset. I had a little scheduling issue, so we had to do it later tonight. And last week I was taking somebody to the airport. Good times all around, John. It's been a couple weeks. The world continues to get crazier. Constantly on the brink of not only World War III, but absurd culture wars. People are talking about celebrity nothings all the time and not really concerned with supply chain issues, hyperinflation, having less and less to say.
I honestly have not been hearing much about anything other than the slap
Exactly. It's the crazy.
and pop culture, like beef stuff. This person hit this person. This person got arrested. It's all tabloid stuff that I'm seeing on my timeline, and like I have not even been seeing any Ukraine stuff. And like it was hard and heavy early, which felt a lot like propaganda. It felt weird. And then now it's dissipating. And I'm wondering, like, things aren't going well.
I don't know that it's dissipating. I think that they're merging the two, right? So, for instance, I didn't even know about the Oscars because, you know, I had this girl up, totally in love. I never talk about this kind of stuff on the show, guys, but this is it. This is the one. If you saw some of my caged aggression videos, then you might have got a peek at her. I'm telling you right now. So I wasn't even aware, right? Took her to the airport. I start getting ready to do work, and I'm reading through the news, and I'm just like, holy shit, what is this in my timeline? What? And I've refused. I won't say.
I had my show, so I didn't watch. Who watched the Oscars? Like, I didn't even know the Oscars was still a thing. But it was just, you know, it was on the timeline, and you're showing this stuff, and I immediately dismissed it because I was like, oh, it's some stupid fake whatever crap, and I didn't pay attention to it, and then went to bed, and the next morning it's like the only thing anybody's talking about.
I mean, the memes are ready to go. It caught the zeitgeist of pop culture. It was actually the second lowest rated Oscars of all time. The only one that was worse was last year. And I had actually posted that basically they were throwing themselves. I mean, they are pretty irrelevant at this point. I can't even tell you what's won Best Picture maybe in the last 10 years, you know, at all. I think like the last one I cared about, did District 9 win, or was it up for Best Picture? Like,
I don't even know who, you know, the stuff you try to avoid it, but it always comes through your timeline a little bit. But like the pictures of whoever the stars and whoever, I don't know who any of these people are.
No,
I would never recognize them. If they walked right in front of me, I wouldn't know.
I'm with you. So anyway, my point being is that all of a sudden that was everywhere. But if you're hardcore like me and you're watching the 24-hour news channels, the difference is that that's peppered into all of the other pro-Ukraine war news, right? So, like, let me give you an example. Like, Jesse Waters, who came out pretty reasonable during the COVID 1984 era, gets his own show. He's been total, like, pro-Ukraine propaganda. And they're throwing in the Will Smith stuff. For instance, he had Mel Gibson on, right? And they were promoting his new movie, Father Stew, with Marky Mark. And, you know, it's some redemption story of a criminal who becomes a priest. And they ask Mel Gibson about the slap incident. Okay, so that's how much they're interjecting it. Hannity's interjecting it, all that stuff, right? Gibson, to his credit, this makes me like Mel Gibson more and more. Every time I see something about the guy, you know, we all have
I've seen
our
a few
moments
little snippets of him, and it makes me really like him. And then I start thinking about all the like fake news and all the BS and all the narratives and whatever they go flying around at people and the shit they throw at people that they've done with him over the years. And I'm starting to think, maybe this dude is just really based and doesn't play nice with the pedophiles, and that's why he gets attacked.
So just so you understand, his dad, Hunton Gibson, used to come on the Alex Jones show back in the day. His dad also lived to over 100 because Mel took him down to South America and got him stem cells treatment. And we're going to talk about NAD plus today, guys, and de-aging and all that stuff. But he got the good stem cells, and he went from like critical to living a few more years, I think to 103 or 104. So he was a pretty aware guy. And, you know, getting back to the slap thing really quick, they ask him about it, and he as soon as he hears it, he goes like this with his hands to whoever his handler is on the phone, because he's doing one of those tour things via satellite or via Skype, right? And she just immediately says on air, Oh, we thank you. Time's up. Mel Gibson, he's got to go. He won't even. He just smiling and just won't even acknowledge it. That makes me like Mel Gibson. Now Gibson's obviously on the stem cells, on all of the anti-aging stuff, and we're gonna get into NAD plus.
Jack, dude, he's Jack,
dude.
He's good. I saw somebody had a random video of him. It was a Mexican guy.
Yeah, I saw it.
He had like a flat tire. He's like changing the guy's tire, helping the guy out. He's like, "Oh my God, it's Mel Gibson!" And like the music, what movie was he thinking about? The Patriot. He probably went way back. It wasn't like anything recent. He's like, Mel Gibson from The Patriot.
Hey, listen, he looks.
Like, why are you here? And he's like, I don't know. Why are you here?
Yeah. He's like, why don't you have bodyguards with you? He's like, why don't you have bodyguards with you? He's like, I like to be alone. He's like, why are you alone? Listen, Gibson is on the stuff, and it looks like he got the better stuff at a younger age than, say, Stallone or even Schwarzenegger.
Well, this is the thing is, I think he's somebody who started late.
Yes.
Because he was a more skinnier, lean body type. He wasn't the Schwarzenegger, the Lundgren, Dolph or whatever. Like, he wasn't one of those body types. Even the Van Damme, he was mostly slender. And then as he got older, though, starts beefing up.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, he looks healthy. Like, he doesn't just look jacked. His face looks healthy. He looks proportionate. He looks movable.
Anything like Madonna.
Oh, dude. We're not making this about pop culture, folks. Actually, you know what? It's a good segue right there, because everything is about pop culture, and that's why the Musk thing is so important. And we're going to be going over that, especially the big talk. 9% of Twitter. I went on a total rant earlier tonight on the Union of the Unwanted. I'm going to be posting that.
Why would you trust this guy? So what?
Dude, let me ask you this.
He uses child slavery to help produce his cars. What hope do you have for this person to be the good guy? Seriously.
John, let's look at it on his face.
He's entertaining. I think he's entertaining.
But I think that he's a front. All of his main contracts. Yeah. Again, he's also
controlled. He's a controlled person. He's not acting freely. When the source of his money steps in and tells him what to do, he's going to do it.
Well, that's why he's trying to start World War III. Again, I gotta make the points again. He made more money than anybody else. 600% increase in his wealth during COVID. That means he beat Bezos. Okay, let me repeat that. That means he beat Bezos. Now, Elon Musk.
That was and some of that was him rigging the market.
Well, again, all right. So before we even get into Dogecoin,
and the regular market.
Well, before we get into Dogecoin and also talking about his Tesla stuff, right? Because that was the big thing. He tweeted about Tesla, and because he tweeted something about Tesla, he was able to manipulate the market, was the claim. The SEC, looked into it a little bit. They didn't file any charges, right? Of course they're not going to, because again, he's a friend. Before we even get to cryptocurrency, remember, he is one of the guys that swooped in with Peter Thiel and is the initial currency digitally with PayPal. PayPal, which is an institution worldwide, globally, and again, very much so a stepping stone to what will become cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, period. So that's something to keep in mind. And Thiel is all about surveillance and all that other stuff. Now, my big question before we get into his money and what is, again, he's put up satellites that mirror, and we'll get into Dennis Bushnell. Because it's very important. Remember I was talking about how these satellites are weaponized? Mm-hmm. You know that video that I keep showing you of the old man talking about the brain chips in 2011 and all that, and 10,000 people? Mm-hmm. So we found some new videos of him, John. There's a great listener out there that found an archive of videos through 2014 and even 2018 of the things that he says more. Okay? Now, at one point at I think it's the Fireside or something like that, Futurist. I mean, these are multimillionaires and billionaires and investments that come and watch him speak, and found this video. One of the questions is about satellites. And the guy goes, look, the Russians have these satellites that aren't really satellites. They're weapon systems. he goes, what's happening up there and how do you take them out? And he openly says, look, space warfare is a thing. But then he goes, no comment. And he goes, they josh him and he goes, no, I work for the Defense Department. No comment. I can't talk about any of that. So these satellite systems are 100% weapon systems. Okay. They are DARPA run. They are deployed by Musk himself, again, on SpaceX. People have to, this is DARPA's own website. By the way, Moderna's been updating their websites about DARPA. We'll get into that in a different broadcast. But here, the two Mandrake 2 satellites, those are Blackjack satellites. Okay? His main money is moving military cargo around the world in an hour. That's what SpaceX really is. When you get to Bushnell, one of the few truthful things he talks about is, and he talks about a lot of real technology, right? That's where this is going. That's why I quote him. He talks about de-aging, and that is how I came to NAD+. Okay, this is not cheap. At the time of him talking about it, he could get it at 50 to 250 milligrams, right? So I'm like, what is this stuff? I've never heard of it. What is it? So you hadn't heard of it, right? So basically, this is the stuff that they've been injecting into mice that de-ages old mice into young mice again. And at this point, I got the second most expensive treatment you could do. Okay, I'm going to give it a try because apparently even these are just out of this world. And I'm on day 2 of them. I got to tell you, I feel pretty damn good. I'm not like, usually I have a break in the day where I feel kind of unenergized, but this is, it's not like a hyper. I don't know how to describe it. Basically, everybody that does it starts taking it. You get the injectables for about $4.20 a shot, John. Okay, like straight up injectables. And it leads me to a doctor out in Australia that Rogan interviewed a year back or so, or maybe even 2 years back. It's like this 52-year-old doctor from Australia. Looks like he's 35. Has virulent John Fitch hair, no grays that I can see, even I'm popping grays. And he starts talking about NAD+ as well and what it does. And I guess it repairs the telomeres. You know how your DNA eventually erodes? Yeah, it doesn't just slow the process. It literally repairs them.
Repairs them, wow.
That's the claim. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming any of this, but you can start looking into it. I never heard any of this. And then he starts talking about something else that's interesting that I'm going to try to get on, John. Let's say this blood work I do, no matter how it comes back, I'm going to do it. But there's actually a type 2 diabetes drug out there called Mitrofan that is also a de-ager that this guy is on. And it basically just takes all these it doesn't do anything really with insulin and regulation, but it regulates the sugar, you know. And this is kind of a short thing. I would just encourage people to do their own research. I got it. You know, I spent a couple $100 plus on a 6-month supply. It's 1 pill a day. You can take it totally empty as well. In fact, they encourage it. Bushnell talked about that, and then he also talked about L-arginine as an NO hormone, but he said the problem with that is that can grow nascent cancer. Okay, and that's why he wouldn't recommend that, but this has none of that. So there's no plug here, guys. I'm just saying you listen to these guys and you navigate the world, right? Because I guarantee a lot, you know, he's on it. He's an 80-something-year-old man going around. I mean, let's get into DARPA really quickly. Just so everybody knows, Bezos' grandfather was actually the initial director of DARPA. Okay? He's the guy. So just so everybody...
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Like that, something like Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was like a, you know...
Hold on. John, you're killing it today. You're killing it.
God,
you're killing it.
Oh, my God. It's just the... Like, if you think that the old ways of kings and queens and dukes and all that shit, if you think that stuff's over with, get out of here. That class system is still just as strong today.
So you mentioned the Robert Maxwell.
They just hide their insane wealth in the stuff they're doing, man.
So they don't mention so far in this the Israeli Mossad ties that Seymour Hersh exposed and Robert Maxwell sued him for. And then Maxwell, after he died, The estate had to make an apology because everything Hirsch said was factual, okay? And we went over that. But this new documentary is showing the British intelligence ties we've talked about and the Russian intelligence ties, apparently, with the KGB. Now, I can't verify those. I'm just telling you what they're reporting. But remember, this is a media mogul with intelligence ties from every side, and selling spy software called Promise. And it's funny, we talk about this, and it works into these different arenas. We also, today on the Union of Unwanted, talked about Pegasus 2, and I've done several videos on that. That's also Israeli spy software. Are you aware of Pegasus 2, John?
Not aware of Pegasus 2. I do remember hearing about Pegasus.
So apparently Pegasus 2 is just the advanced version of Pegasus that can then go in on your phone and basically act as a user. Everything that you not only do gets recorded. So anytime a button is pressed, the haptic is there. They understand what your passwords are. Even if you have the little thing encoded across the way, they know where you're pressing. But it can also be taken over at any time. And, they could hack you and tweet you or take a photo off or put a photo in, anything. It's like full access as well as a backup with zero way of knowing you have it on there. So it's basically an invisible executable, right? You'd have to have, what they're trying to say is you would have to have the type of security clearances within the intelligence systems to even diagnose it. Okay, that's how. And it literally can be
Thanks, nerds. Thanks.
Bro, that Bushnell guy, he openly says,
seriously though, like at one point you gotta know, what is this going to be used for? Like, you're not ever thinking, oh man, this thing I'm making to break and hack into phones and take over stuff, this will never be used against innocent people or me ever.
It's already being used.
Stop. Just be like, it's impossible. We can't do it. Give up. Give up trying to spy on people.
Oh man.
Come on, nerd. Letting us down, man.
So
the fallacy of the noble nerd.
We're going to have some safe and effective news on top of the Muskington. But again, I can't emphasize it enough, guys. Musk sent up military-grade satellites that are being utilized by drones. This is in the open. We'll type it in together, okay? He's goading Russia out in the open without any provocation, challenging Putin to battle, okay? But we'll just type it in. Musk satellites drone attacks. Attacks is the key word, okay? Ukraine is using Elon Musk's Starlink for drone strikes. How Elon Musk is helping Ukrainian drone units to destroy tanks. Let's just go to the news section so you understand. I mean, that's at the top of Google. One of the most it's out in the open. Okay? You know?
A private citizen is aiding and abetting a foreign country in a war.
Openly.
Does our government not have there's no license for that? There's no I gotta get a license to fish. I gotta pay like $50 to get a freaking piece of paper so I can go and catch some disease-filled fish under an overpass. I don't need a license to send satellites into the sky and aid nuclear power. I guess they're not nuclear power.
Well, they could be. Listen, that's the thing. All right, so
aid a nation fighting against the nuclear power. Like I can just do that.
You can do it when you're a DARPA front, when you are a Trojan horse civilian system. When you buy,
and nobody's like, whoa, wait a minute, step back, wait a minute. No, not a single person, not a single. Yeah, about Twitter, cool, man. We're gonna have free speech on Twitter now.
and here's the thing. Let's talk about the quote unquote free speech we're gonna get on Twitter. Am I the only one that noticed that Alex Jones doesn't have his Twitter back? that I don't have a blue check mark, that Donald Trump doesn't have his Twitter back, that there are still fact check marks on the side telling me the most Johnny nonsense bullshit. Fact checkers say. Fact checkers my balls. We got safe and effective news that we're going to have to cut off. How deep are we in? We're in 20 minutes deep. I want to give a good long time for the safe and effective news we have tonight, John. We got some real safe and effective news. Have you heard about the U.S. Open? Or I'm sorry, the Miami Open.
I have heard that there has been an onslaught of some illness, unfortunately.
Just so everybody understands, we can't talk about this on this platform, but
I was very careful with my wording.
Yes, he's extremely careful because we can talk about it in the safe and effective section of the broadcast when it's safe and effective to talk about it. But just so everybody knows, 15 women have dropped out of the Miami Open.
You could say that the Miami Open was mostly peaceful.
I mean, I want to just read something out there. Okay, in total, there have been 15 withdrawals / retirements during the Miami Open. Fans were left shocked at the double retirement from 2 stars in a bizarre day of tennis. So is this men and women? It may be both. Yes.
Did they get sick, or did they all find something else? Find something out?
Let's talk about it in the safe and effective part of the broadcast,
Okay.
John. We're going to get there because there's some other safe and effective news we want to talk about. What I do want to say is this.
There's layers.
I saw a little piece of Glenn Beck today worshiping Elon Musk, and it made me want to vomit. But I got to give credit where credit is due. So this is a portion.
Harlequins love rich people.
Listen, this is a portion of the Beck broadcast where at least he's talking about Klaus Schwab. He plays a nice little Klaus clip here, and he correctly identifies not only that this is a great reset on behalf of a new world order, but they're throwing it in our face at this point. John, do you know what just took place last week?
Oh no, what?
The World Government Summit.
World Government Summit. Okay.
Oh, it was the World Government Summit.
One of the meetings.
You know what the opening talk was?
What do we do about these stupid slaves that won't listen to us?
Pretty much the upcoming New World Order was the opening speech. And you'll hear what Klaus has to say. So I'm going to give...
Every time these people speak, you get an overwhelming feeling of how they really view everybody that isn't on their financial level as a lesser, dumber person who needs to be, treated like cattle.
Well, I'm going to give Glenn Beck his due here. We might have to break it up because I don't know if Beck will get me on a copyright or whatever. I guess it really doesn't matter because we're not monetized. By the way, the links are down below, and at johnfitch.net isn't only his Twitter handle. johnfitch.net is actually his website. So, Glenn Beck, take it away.
We also need to pay attention to what is happening around us. I told you a minute ago, the World Government Summit. The what? The World Government Summit happened yesterday in Dubai, and it was the introduction session yesterday.
And let me just stop. You know what? They love Dubai. Why? Because it's so in your fucking face that there's a royal class above the peasant class. Literally. These people call themselves kings and queens. We are in 2022, folks.
Don't they regularly have slaves?
They might as well have slaves, bro. Like again, they have such a servant.
I feel like I've seen that's the place where there's like videos of people trying to escape and like climb out of hotel and like condo windows because they're trying to get away.
Well, Dubai is like their rich playground also, where like all of them just kind of invest and are building their super cities, So at the underlying part of that, yes, you do have obviously the slavers, the workers that have to be there, the underclass. But let's continue with Beck.
And all the people that, are the usual people were there. Huge crowd, gigantic theater. With all of the critical, important people. And it was kicked off by, lo and behold, Klaus Schwab. Here's what he said.
We do not yet know the full extent and the systemic and structural changes which will happen.
Now listen to this.
However, We do know that global energy systems, food systems, and supply chains will be deeply affected.
So before he even gets there to what he says, they know, first of all, the first part of what he said is completely facetious. We don't know what will happen when we do that. They know exactly.
They know exactly what they're trying to do.
They know exactly.
You couldn't write like a Bond villain or a Die Hard villain better than him. It's really too bad that Bruce Willis is losing his mind a little bit, because that would be a great new Die Hard. Die Hard, Death to the NWA, or whatever, and it's him and Carl Schwab.
It's penetrated. The problem is that the term has penetrated pop culture so much. There's like a certain sect of the population that just completely dismisses it. There's another sect of the population that's so into wrestling, they just think it's like a wrestling gag, right?
And that's the thing, is it's not a new term. It's not new. It was a conspiracy theory joke back. I remember back in the 90s. I remember the crazy stoner guys, had the stories and the whatever about their uncle and the guy. Now you can check everything on the internet to see for yourself and find the documents. But back then it was just like some guy talking.
Yeah, it was, some guy didn't have, for instance.
Man. They're listening on all the conversations. And you're like, sure, buddy. But you're like, they've been spying on us this whole time. He was 100% right. The conspiracy theory is true. Now they're just gotten to a point where like they're entering the final stages, and they're like, screw it, we don't even have to hide it anymore.
That's exactly it. I mean, again, I grew up, again, going to church all the time, hearing these people talk about the New World Order and the mark of the beast and chipped humans and prophecy. And I completely dismissed it and rejected it, right? Completely dismissed it and rejected it.
That was a funny thing that Cernovich actually tweeted out the other day. Was he used to think in the 80s that the hardcore right-wing religious people were the crazy people, talking about slippery slopes and all this other stuff. It's like, fast forward 30 years later, 40 years later, they were right. They were 100% correct.
It's hard to argue with it, because now it is all out in the open. And then, like you said, back in our day, especially when we were kids, and when we came up, the internet's what changed it. It was what changed me. It's what's making me do this right now, because I would hear that term, and there was really nowhere other than a library or the school where I could look up that term. There's no video I could pull up, right? I wasn't going to a Blockbuster even, or a local video store, and finding a documentary film on it, right? There was no way to get that. If I didn't know about Samuel Zane Batten's book, The New World Order, and they didn't have it, right? Guess what? Most libraries wouldn't have it. I wouldn't know that was a thing. Same with, H.G. Wells and The New World. I wouldn't understand the historical context. And now, as information has become more abundant and people have archived things, I'm using it to empower me to, that's why over a decade ago, folks, we'll get back to Beck in a second, but that's why I made Invisible Empire and New World Order Defined. I did it because it literally, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a big old joke and ha ha ha, funny. And then I found all these people talking about it over the years, and the organizations they were in and what they were trying to produce. And I think, it's one of my best films. And there's, by the way, this gentleman right here, that's the guy that coined the term deep state. All right? You don't hear a lot about Peter Dale Scott. You should read Peter Dale Scott and Deep Events and Deep Politics and all that thing. But I had the foresight to have him in my film in 2010, before it was hip to talk about the deep state. All right, let's get back to Beck. Let's let Glenn finish it up.
Got it? We are changing things, and we don't know how that'll go.
They know.
But we do know the global energy system, the food system, and the supply chains will be deeply affected. Well, but other than that, don't worry about it. It's only food, energy, and how we get things. But other than that, we're good. This is the arrogance of the elites.
I don't like to call them elites. These are predators. Predator class. They're disgusting.
Now, one of the topics, their first session was, are we ready for a new world order? Are they trolling us? I think the reason why they're naming this is because, A, they really mean it. It is a new world order. But they also see an advantage of calling it the New World Order instead of the Great Reset, which it absolutely is. The New World Order, they call it that because that way when I say it to you and you're like, did you hear about the global government where their first session was, are we ready for the New World Order? Everybody rolls their eyes. Aha.
I think he's right.
Not wrong, yeah.
He's not wrong. So you know what? We'll give Beck his due. Here comes some fear-mongering from the United Nations and the quote-unquote New World Order. Damning UN report warns greenhouse gas emissions peak by 2025.
So this is so insane to me, though, because Russia doesn't seem to be playing this game, and China isn't playing the global warming game. So it's just they're just trying to destroy the West.
So here's
Is
the
that
deal.
is that part of the banking elite's plan? Is like, let's just wipe out the West because
Well, they do want to do
Chinese
that.
are
I
so
believe.
docile, and they're so docile, and they follow orders better. And Russia got wiped out so bad in World War II; they're still not fully recovered. So,
I think it's
What?
complex, but like for instance, China, they don't really care that they're not going along with this because they already got the social credit score in. They're locking down cities of 30 million people. You know what I'm saying? Who cares about like that? They know it's a scam, John. They know it's 100%. That's 1.2 billion people. They know it's 100% a scam, and that's what I'm telling everybody. The carbon system is a scam, but they already locked those people in with social credit scores, authoritarianism, one party, one media, everything, no resistance, and they're unarmed. Period. Okay, China's the model. Okay, China is the model. Coca-Cola,
it's the
Disney.
end game.
Yes. So, they can play it off as them being the evil, even though we reflect everything they do. Everything at this point, except for, because, you have some rogues in the uniparty. We still have our guns. Okay. I'm still able to speak and not be jailed. But you look at Canada, our neighbors to the north, almost 40 million people locked down if they wanted to come in. Couldn't leave their country if they didn't want to get a vaccine.
Australia, too.
And how many people lost their shit here? Like, I didn't even want to say the V word on this podcast, but again, China's got the lockdown, bro. They've got the continuous lockdown. They have a culture of obedience. James Corbett said it best. He's in Japan, right? So he said, look, man, they didn't really have to do any of the lockdowns or anything like that because people just do what they're told. He goes, everybody did exactly what they were told. They just wore the mask. There were no mandates. They just got the shots. There were no mandates. They didn't have to. Everybody just fell in line. So it wasn't even a thing until it was, not a thing. He's like, I walk around all the time without a mask because there's no mandates. And he goes, in this culture, even if they hated your guts, they wouldn't even come up and talk to you about it. So they're not, it's not like our culture. Everything is, internalized a lot too. People here, love them or hate them, have diarrhea of the mouth. And I'm probably included in that, right? We'll spout it all. Those cultures have been trained to literally think about what they're saying and whether they believe it or not, be in line with the authoritative narrative. It's kind of what it seems foreign to us, John, and foreign to a hairstyle like that. And a bass player like yourself, my friend, and a rock star. You know what I mean? But that's how I feel about it. So listen, we're going to pop over uncensored and start talking about some safe and effective news. That means we got to leave YouTube. 241 watching, not even 100 likes. Come on, guys, get those likes up. And by the way, we're live on Podbean. Oh, did I say it? We're live on Podbean. You call in. If you're just listening on audio, you have the Podbean app. Guess what? You can bean it up. We actually have one person waiting on the. In fact, we're going to take a call right now before we go from YouTube. And you can go to Podbean or you can go to Rockfin for the uncensored video where we're also streaming. John, are you ready for our very first ever live call?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. You're on. Are you ready? You're on live. Vaz, I can't see right now, so let's see.
Can you hear me, Jason?
We can. What's up, brother?
Hey, it's Elisha Kramer. I don't know why they gave me that weird fucking name. Excuse my language.
All right, Elijah, you're a big supporter of the broadcast. Thank you so much. What's up, brother?
Thank you for acknowledging that. I know you're not a religious man, but I see a lot of traits in Elon Musk that I see in the Antichrist. I am a Christian. And I just wonder what your opinion on, I mean, I know you're educated in a lot of different
Sure.
religions and you've done your research. And, you know, everybody thinks the Antichrist is going to be some kind of evil man that everyone's going to hate, but it's quite the opposite. He's going to be the man that people are attracted to, that they're going to want to, you know, they think he's going to save the world, so to speak. And I just see a lot of those traits in Elon Musk. And just wanted your opinion on that.
Well,
and also,
I'll
I
tell you
just
what,
want to
brother.
thank, I want to say thanks to you and Fitch for all you guys do, and I think you're fantastic, and I will continue to support your broadcast. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I really appreciate that. How awesome is that? We got somebody else on the line after that. We'll take you on the Rockfin side, my brother. This is what I'm going to say. I was on the Union of the Unwanted today, and someone asked the same question. And immediately I kind of cracked, he's not handsome enough, you know, because he is supposed to be good looking and charming. That's kind of a joke. But
fair enough.
But let me say this. He certainly has gotten that mythos, and even those that are aware will often point to the fact that Werner von Braun, in his fictional writings, talked about a man named Elon who would bring the world to Mars. And I think at the very least, one of the things that these people are very good at doing is using religious narratives to their advantage and exploiting them. So whether he's the new Antichrist or not, there are some people that are going to gravitate towards him, and there'll be people like yourself. But, you know, in the Bible, you know, some argue that there are, quote unquote, many antichrists. So
Right.
I don't like to shit all over other people's religions, but I do think that they are setting up, at the very least, as a false prophet of hope, truth, and freedom, and erecting him as some kind of leader, when in fact NASA is really all about space warfare and control of the populace through technology, and not the empowerment of humanity through space exploration. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
awesome, Elijah. All right, I'm going to let you go. We're
All
going
right.
to go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Proud to be the first.
Yeah, awesome. So before we go over to Rockfin Alone, I do want to encourage people to check out johnfitch.net. John, tell them what you got going on.
Good. Yeah, man. You know, I got the regular self-defense, MMA, jiu-jitsu. I teach seminars, small groups, private lessons. But I also have my Fitch Smash fitness system, right? So I have cardio, meal plan, and the way I lift weights. It's all stuff I've put together over the years of competing. Give you that fighter body, get you in fight shape, even if you don't know how to fight.
Yeah, and I've seen you've been doing some personal one-on-ones, and you've got the videos up there, and there's some videos available over on the Rockfin. Again, if you support Fitch or I, you get everybody's premium stuff. So listen, we're going to talk safe and effective news. We're going to talk about people dropping out of tennis, and a lot more, actually dropping more than out of tennis. So safe and effective, people are dropping dead, John, but because we're in a safe and effective environment. Come over to the Rockfin and learn about how safe and effective it is. All right. We are now free. Listen, I'm going to go to you, Green.